What is up guys, Wraec here with a new video, and today with a review to Rosehard Fanatic Williams. He's the newest Transcendence hero in Idle Heroes, and he's from the Abyss faction, which is quite surprising considering he is very strong. We already tried him a little bit. You might have seen my live stream where we cleared SL40 or the video about broken spaces that I made, both of which impressive displays of his power. So today we're going to go even one stage beyond that, going into a little bit of harder content. We're going to go into Void Campaign Island 9, clear some stages there. Beyond that, Void Boss 4, difficulty 10. We'll have to be a little bit afraid at least of what we're going to do to it. I don't really want to go in too much depth about his abilities at the start of the video. We'll go more into depth towards the end. For the beginning, I just wanted to bring you a little bit of a display, and I wanted you to take a look at what happens in Void Campaign when we use this hero. For this particular stage, I want to demonstrate it with a TBB. We are going to use a Defic Receptor TBB in this battle. We don't need the core, I would believe. I think it will work without. I hope she gets her energy. She does, because this can be rather annoying without having the Homesiang CC. Everything with Homesiang and no CC is definitely a pain and something I would rather avoid. If that King Barton got CC'd, I would be a whole lot happier human as well. But now that is the case, so now we are happy. Keep an eye out for this turn 2 ult here. That is definitely a whole lot of damage. And yep, that's half the stage done. Now we only have 2 enemies left. Double Twine, always fun to see. Base Twine and the Transcendence Twine can somehow exist on the same hero. And that is already it. Major display of damage right here. A lot of enemies that didn't even get to act. This stage, I will quickly... I think we have to attack that. I mean, we can attack that with the TBB. I think I will get that out of the way, and then we will do a stage without the TBB. Okay, there we go. Those stages can always be a little bit annoying, so a little bit bad to display the power of a hero. Let's try this one without a TBB, because it is interesting to see the difference. For now, it's just something that I want you to observe. Observe the difference between the active skill on turn 1, between the last time and this time, and you will quickly see that TBB has quite an interesting synergy with him. And that synergy, or, well, sometimes some people would say it's not even a synergy, because it just changes his behavior in a way. Let's take a look at this active skill now. You might notice that this will deal a lot more damage. On turn 1, that is, the turn 2 active skill will basically not exist. So the thing that his mechanics do is basically has a skill that gives him stacks of a buff called Rosehard something. Every time the energy of a hero is full, he gains a stack of that. Now, as soon as he reaches 8 stacks, his ult will become a special version that deals a ton of damage. And he will accumulate those stacks over time, not consume them until he deals that special variant of his ult. And so, to get a lot of damage out of him, you want a lot of enemies that reach full energy. That is like the way to really enhance his damage. And this is why the way he acts with TBB is a little bit different. If TBB CCs the enemies at the beginning of the fight, she also reduces the energy, and that will reduce the damage he deals, because he will have less stacks of this Rosehard buff. On the other hand, he will still have a few of them from another passive, which will give him a basic amount of damage there. And then on turn 2, he will reach the special version of his ult, and then will deal a ton of damage. So you get a fair amount of damage on turn 1, and then a whole lot of damage on turn 2 with TBB. Without TBB, with enemies that are faster, he will reach the special ult on turn 1, deal a ton of damage with his initial ult, and then on the second turn will likely get way less stacks, because then the enemies are gone, so he can't really regain them. That is the way TBB works in comparison to them. Stages with 5 enemies, of course, are also a little bit worse for him, even though he's still particularly good at dealing with very tanky enemies and dealing a ton of burst, so he won't have a problem there. Also, we get 3 stacks from his passive skill and then 5 more from those enemies, so we'll still be 8 nonetheless. It's a different story against bosses. Like, for example, I haven't tried him yet against Star Expedition bosses, but it's 1 enemy, so he can only gain 1 stack, which makes it a little bit difficult. Ooh. Gaggy boss, very annoying, very, very difficult. You can see how he takes out those huge chunks out of the HP of the enemies. It's absolutely insane. DGN, of course, also not bad there. Turn 2. Are we going to get some good damage? Let's see. I mean, even if we get bad damage, it would still be enough. Because they don't have HP anymore. This is basically, this stage was cleared by the first ult he did, which is insane. It is absolutely insane. 9-2 entirely cleared, no problem at all. I cleared the Valk stage on 9-1-1 accidentally with him. That is madness. Okay, so now we got a first look at his performance against Void Campaign stages. Let's take a look at his performance against bosses. So we still use that God Eater artifact. We didn't switch to Antler's Cane. Let's just go in there and try and see what happens. So, nothing too fancy going on here. Pretty standard team. We have him in the back row. Core is just on Alikita. Let's see what the damage is. And let's see what we can do there. Should have done 1 switch, so looking back. Maybe we'll do 2 clears, because I don't think he has Balance Strike on, and he certainly should. He certainly should have Balance Strike on. But okay. That's like turn 1 damage. Let's see how much more. We have a few enemies there, so that comes in his favor, we have to say. If there's like 5 enemies, so that's pretty good for him, as we understood already. Main thing for him is enemies getting energy, and that is a good thing in most cases for him. So turn 3, yeah, okay, half the stage is now gone. It's just a boss and 1 enemy left on turn 3. I guess it's already pretty impressive. I think we can get the perfect clear nonetheless. Can we do it? Can we get a perfect clear here? Ah, it's so close. So close. If we feed him an ult for the next turn, I think, yeah, it's possible. I think if we get an ult now, it's possible. Yeah, okay. That's already the perfect clear. 1.6 E plus 15 from him. And I think we can enhance that even further. Let's take another step and let's enhance that even further, because we certainly don't need that unbending will. Let's try to get the perfect clear here. Now with Balance Strike. Balance Strike is a whole lot better. You can run it pretty easily on him. The thing is, he has low crit anyway. He's running, if you just put a Holy Damage Skill Damage Stone, he's like on 30% crit or something on my account. And that is really not what you want. Did you see that? You see that huge amount of HP that just went missing there. We are on a little bit of unlucky hits, I have to say, because we hit the minions mostly. You really want to hit the boss there, because that boss has to go. I hope we hit him now, but he doesn't get silenced. So in a situation like that, he prefers to target the heroes that have silence gag order on them. So in a situation where there are minions and the boss, he will try to target the minions, which is a bit of an unfortunate circumstance here. But if we combined him, for example, with an LFA here, would actually be perfectly alright. Let the LFA target the boss, he will take care of everything else, but he can still take care of the boss in most situations. It just can bring him into a bit unfortunate situation. Because the thing is, we already explained, he needs enemies that reach full energy to get his damage for his ult, to get his marks for his ult. If there's only the boss left, well, that kind of limits the amount of marks that he can get that upgrade his damage. So that is a little bit of an unfortunate thing, but you can of course go into combination, use Melissa, use him, and you will have very perfect damage. Very, very perfect damage to clear this boss, and no problems at all. That being said, we already watched a lot of his skill set throughout the games. Let's take a little bit of a look at the abilities. I want to point out some things. First of all, A very interesting thing is he's a ranger. He doesn't seem really like a ranger. Examples for other rangers include like SQH. Rangers, if we take a look at the treasure train stats, have very interesting buffs that they get from treasure train. We have once again the transcendence buffs that we get, and then we get into the class buffs. And class buffs for ranger include a ton of speed, like for most heroes here. Then we also have attack, we have holy damage, and we have dodge rate. Dodge rate plus 15.3%, quite the major improvement to the dodge rate, and this really makes it quite kind of interesting for those heroes because they can survive fairly well. Rangers are particularly good at surviving. They have some control precision buffs, some control immunity offset buffs, a little bit of CC that works for them. They are not really the big CC heroes. Those would be mages. You can see the control precision difference, 35% versus 15%. Really, the mages are the control precision class. And it's further amplified through other things, like if we go into Gates of the Void, Galactic Tree. There we have the Mage Star Spawn, which is a control immunity offset one, and we have dodge offset, which is the ranger one. So we can hit heroes with dodge particularly well, and we can dodge ourselves, making survivability a whole lot easier. And this is like a thing that it is interesting to see on a damage dealer. Most damage dealers in this game are warriors or mages. Now we have a ranger here, and well, dodging is good on the first note. We have to take a look at his abilities though. Let's take a look there. We have a whole book. The buff that I meant was Blood-Soaked Flower. Blood-Soaked Flower we have is quite interesting. We have Blood-Soaked Flower for every 2 layers of Blood-Soaked Flower owned by self-attacks one more time, dealing 3200% damage. And then for every 1 time he's attacked repeatedly, we also get bonus damage. And then we get a shield for the energy that we have, which is actually quite insane. It's not even bad. It seems like 0.4% of max HP, but it's per 1 energy we own, and we own a lot of energy usually through our other abilities, and that means we actually get a very, very big shield, which is pretty good. So per 2 layers, we attack more often. There is no cap like right here. The thing is, once we have 8 layers of Blood-Soaked Flower, it changes the active skills to Waterfall of Flowers. So the natural cap for the first part is 8 or 7, because at that point, once we get 1 more, we get into Waterfall of Flowers, and that is an entire different thing. It consumes all layers of Blood-Soaked Flower, and then we attack 8 times. 8 times. So the difference is already clear. Getting to 8 layers, so we get Waterfall of Flowers, then Waterfall of Flowers triggers, we deal 8 times 3200% damage to 3 random enemies, as I said, prioritizing the targets with silent gag order, and then for every 1 time the enemies attack repeatedly, they will take 2000% of attack damage, and then we have a shield, it's a bigger shield, we have a 70% chance to inflict parasitic growth, which is an effect that will steal energy for us, and also this will deal, once this is triggered, it deals 5000% of attack damage. So this is again extra damage. In theory, we could inflict that to like every single hero, would make a ton of damage on bonus damage there. And in reality, it rarely gets inflicted. But if it's inflicted, it gives us energy, deals damage to the enemy. So pretty good. And then we also have the noble sublimation here, which you should get. Each attack of Waterflowers deals extra damage equal to 4% of target's max HP. So another 1500% for every single attack. And you can already see where we end up with this. This is like crazy. This is crazy damage already. Absolute monstrous damage. 8 times 3200. Like, what the hell? People were crazy about like the 10,000% that Luna had. This is 8 times 3200. That is massive. That's 25,600 if I didn't miscalculate. Did I miscalculate? I don't think I did. 25,600. And to 3 random enemies. So basically we can calculate times 3 at that point. And once we calculate times 3 at that point, 76,800%. Not even factoring in the other 2,000%, not even factoring in the 1,500%, bringing us to an active skill that does over 100,000% of attack damage. So this is crazy. This is crazy. Also gives us a shield, also steals energy. So what should I say about this? This is basically the craziest active skill we have in the game. Only thing that makes it a bit weaker is it's not defense ignoring. DTV is defense ignoring. That can be a huge difference. So you have to use things like armor break. At the same time, I'm a big fan of this. I'm a big fan of this because this gives armor break value. This gives precision value because it can be blocked. It can be reduced by armor, so we take care of that. We now have the ways to take care of such things in the game. We even have ways to take care of damage reduction in the game by multiplying damage reduction debuffs, which would be nice if he had something like this. Oh wait, he has something like this. So, passive skill. When an enemy's energy reaches 100, there's a 70% chance to inflict silence gag order on them for 2 rounds. So, this is good. This sounds better than it is. You already saw it in the fights that we did at the beginning. The enemies don't regularly get infected or inflicted with silence gag aura. It is quite rare. The reason for this is his class. It's ranger class. We don't have many buffs to CI offset. We don't have many buffs to control precision. You can run him with Rui, which will make this far more likely to happen. So if you want to get silence gag order on the enemy, you can do that. I myself don't really think it's worth it because silence gag order is not a very good CC effect. It keeps the enemies from doing an active skill and keeps them from critting. It doesn't stop counter attacks. It doesn't stop basic attacks, and basic attacks will be enough to kill you in a situation like Void Campaign. So, and in PvP, yeah, I mean, like, doesn't stop DT, doesn't stop anything like that. So it's not that interesting to me personally. I don't really care about the silence gag order. It's just a bonus in my opinion. Afterward, there's a 100% chance to grant self 1 layer of Blood-Soaked Flower. This is important. This buffs our active skill. So we want enemies to reach 100 energy in a way. Or to get a lot of those stacks at the start and then to never have them reach 100 energy. It's also okay. Not reaching the last active skill is not optimal. It's less damage. If you want to have the big burst, then the thing that you can do is just let every single enemy do their basic attack. Then you have an extra 5 layers of Blood-Soaked Flower. Then you just need to find 3, which are in the other basic attack. Or then you have 6 layers of Blood-Soaked Flower. And then you just need to find 2 and get 3 from the other basic, from the other passive. So that works out. But if we inflict silence, we reduce the target's damage reduction. This is a stat debuff, so an attribute reduction. We can multiply that with DGN, put that on other enemies as well. So at that point, no damage reduction for the enemies. Very, very nice. Actually, pretty cool. Also, this is in a way interesting for PvP. I think this Rui version is more interesting for PvP because it keeps enemies from doing an active skill. And that can be very, very annoying because if you can't do an active skill, well, many use active skill transition power gain. Can't activate their DT at that point. So it is an interesting ability for that. And before we go into the basic, let's go into the second passive, just is a little bit better. Second passive is very, very, very interesting. At the beginning of each battle or when self is in battle, a substitute, if self has 1 or more energy, consumes all of them to make the enemy with the most energy lose all energy and inflict parasitic rose on them. Parasitic rose is not bad. We can see it's 5000% of attack damage. It's not too bad. But really, we don't want to lose all of our energy. And also, there is something different. If self is less than 100, grant self 3 layers of Blood-Soaked Flower. And 3 layers of Blood-Soaked Flower sounds pretty juicy to me in my opinion, because that means we have 3 layers from there. If all enemies do their basic, get to 100 energy, then those are 9 layers, meaning we reached 8 or more. Meaning we get our wonderful Waterfall of Flowers active skill. So this is the way you get it. You have to have less than 100 energy at the start and then let every single enemy attack. So in a situation like Void Campaign where you're slower than the enemy, if you have a non-energy artifact equipped, you will get your Waterfall of Flowers active or the requirements for that fulfilled on the first round. If you have an energy artifact equipped, you will only get to 6 layers and not fulfill that. Which means you will then deal less damage with the first active skill. On turn 2, however, you will fulfill the requirements, so it then looks a whole lot different. And this is something you will play around with. We saw that, an example of that, a demonstration already at the start of the video in the Void Campaign fights. But this is really what you need to know and what you play around with. And there are different ways. If you want huge turn 1 burst, you need to use offensive non-energy artifacts. Meaning, we go in there, we use God Eater, we use Rocket, which is still a discussion. I was of the opinion because God Eater offers crit, God Eater offers bonus damage. I went with God Eater. I had made the experience God Eater gives me more damage. So this is like what I went for. You can use Punisher stuff. I also used that for a while. The other option is Howling Sea Rocket Shell, especially if you have a crit awakening bonus stat. This can be interesting as well. This also gives you 25% crit. Meaning you can maybe go away and take the crit imprint from your Stella away. You have speed here, you have all damage dealt, you have a bunch of abilities which are pretty interesting. It did do well for me. It wasn't bad. I just felt like God Eater is a little bit stronger and gave me a bit more damage. Also, the requirement is not that steep. It's like a very complicated artifact. If you go with an energy artifact, your hero will behave entirely different. And it will look a whole lot different. If you want huge turn 1 burst, that won't work with that. We can try it maybe for a second. Just put like a harp on there. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. Probably need our balance strike back though. And let's try another Void Campaign stage so you see what I mean. We have 100 energy anyway, by the way, at the start. We don't really have it at like the start of the battle. We have it like a microsecond later. So the way I get 100 energy on turn 1 without triggering the ability is a lifestyle. So I have a God Eater equipped. The start energy is 50 for this hero. And I don't get energy through my artifact. So my base energy at the start is still 50. And then the ability checks and it says, okay, he's less than 100 energy. And afterwards, my lifestyle gives me 50 energy. And then I have 100 energy. So I don't even need energy feed, but you can certainly go there. So you saw this wasn't like huge damage on turn 1. It wasn't bad, it wasn't huge. So no super huge burst there. Keep an eye out for the turn 2 though. The turn 2 will be mean. The turn 2 of this is very mean and will hit very hard. So let's take a look at the turn 2 active skill. Yeah, we have the big buff there. Taking basically the entire HP of a hero off in one hit. And yeah, that is big damage. That is big damage. So is it like you need to use something like God Eater? No. If you want huge turn 1 burst, you use non-energy. If you want huge turn 2 burst, you use an energy artifact. So you can still use your melodic strings. It just won't be turn 1 burst. I prefer him with turn 1 burst, I have to say. I like that. I like that he just demolishes enemies on turn 1. Is great because it takes away 2 or 3 enemies in Void Campaign. And that works in my favor. If there, for example, is a stage 3 Valks, 3 Flame Strikes, I take care of the 3 Valks on turn 1, maybe with the active skill. Great, stage won't be a problem. If I want to take care of on turn 2 with them, I will have big problems with my survivability. And that is something to keep in mind. So, where you want to get your burst is depending on the artifact. I love that. I love that mechanic. It is great because we finally get to see Punisher stuff and something like that back. Those non-energy artifacts, non-energy damage artifacts, they were out of the meta. Rocket didn't really make it, and sometimes in PvP, but not really too much. Now we can use that. You can even get huge burst if you have a crown on him. Like, it's honestly quite decent. You can go with Antlers. Also works. It's non-energy artifact. If you want to go with energy, you of course go with the melodic strings. Will give you a ton of damage on turn 2. The turn 2 burst you get then is absolutely crazy. So, that being said, we also have a basic. It's not that interesting. Inflicts Silence Gag Order. And there is a chance to reduce the enemy's energy. It is not too bad. We also get a layer of Blood-Soaked Flower. And with the Deep Sublimation, we gain a second layer. So you kind of want to scale into that a little bit and definitely get your Deep Sublimation here as well. Other than that, it is a good basic. Because we have a chance to inflict Parasitic Rose, which is 5000% attack damage. So the damage here is there. It just feels super weak compared to the active skill. So back to the reason I have 50 energy more. This is in the skills that we have here. There are some skills here that you get too, and this is one of them. Battle starts, and at the end of each round, in the first 5 rounds, increases energy by 50. So this gives you 100 energy on turn 1. So even if I don't have an energy artifact equipped, you can see once I enter a fight, my Williams instantly has 100 energy, and he doesn't lose it. He will lose this fight, however. Keep an eye out on the energy bar of my Williams. That is indeed not a bug. Bam, it's 100. So it's 100 from the start. It doesn't get drained. It doesn't trigger the ability. It is just there and allows me to do an active skill, even if I were to put crowns on all of my other heroes. Before I had this, I just used 2 heroes with demon birds that were faster than him, which are still there in the fight. I don't know what happened. He used to attack faster. Now he attacks very slow. Can take care of this one Holmes Young. Okay, we might have a chance to win this. Not yet entirely lost. Okay. Speedy is dead. No. Okay, we dodged. This will be not enough damage. So we have to survive another turn. Those guys got full energy. That would help a lot. No. Okay, let's see. And you can see there were no bonus attacks because those guys didn't get energy in between. Still, those normal hits are fairly good as well. So we won this now. You saw the energy. And really, there is not too much more that I can say. Maybe we can talk a little bit about his position in the game a little bit more. Sublimation-wise, I don't want to make say too many things. This is great. Noble sublimation is great. I like deep and noble sublimation here. I think deep is a must-have. Noble is optional in that regard. I would still go for deep here, honestly. And I like the noble as well. So I don't think we're at the point in the game where we have to talk about main damage dealers sublimations anymore. I think if you don't have max sublimations or are not actively working towards that, you do it a little bit weirdly. You're playing the game wrong. Core. It just gives holy damage. It's not very insane. It gives holy damage to teammates. It can be up to 50%. It's decent. Would I use it? No. Honestly, it's just like, it's okay. It's okay. It gives him a shield too. I guess the shield is the better part, honestly. There are better cores though. Transition. Let's go talk about transition. Is the standard stuff they put in here. I just go active. I go energy reduced, though this is debatable. Reducing energy is like, we talked about it. It's not entirely good. It can be bad. You take less active hits, but you also keep them from hitting 100 energy. So, like, you can go for something like this. I would probably go with either with this or with this. This is if you want more damage on turn 1. This is probably good for turn 2. So, you keep that in mind. Highest attack buff is good. One buff removal is good if you want to use him in something like Star Expedition. It's nice for Star Expedition. I wouldn't use him in Star Expedition. I don't think he will be able to compete with LFA. Enemy speed reduction is good for PvP. Twine the backline is what I have there at the moment. You can also get the extra damage reduction for Silence Gag Order. I don't use this, no. And then for the last one, just all damage dealt, self-increase. People were talking about whether his base version of the Destiny transition is better than this last version. I don't think it necessarily is. I like, however, it's one of those discussions with the 6-layer and 12-layer thing. 6 layers is easier to trigger because you can trigger that every round as long as you can do active skills. This is 2 rounds. Is this a lot better? I think it is. Let's read it. Consumes 6 layers of them to attack 10 times, each dealing 500% of attack damage to a random enemy. Afterwards, there's a 100% chance to inflict Silence Gag Order on 1 random enemy for 2 rounds. Besides, inflict 1000% Divine Retribution, which is damage that ignores all defenses, on enemies with Silence Gag Order. So if we go into this Silence Gag Order thing, our active skill will be a whole lot stronger, or our Destiny transition skill will be a whole lot stronger. Keep that in mind. Which was particularly annoying, by the way, because this hero was bugged in the initial stages, or in the initial time it was released. It inflicted silence, not Silence Gag Order. I reported that to the customer support. interesting. On the Discord. On the new Discord, they have like a bug reporting section. And to my surprise, a person from the customer support is in there, answers all of them, seems to understand English and took care of that. And yeah, I can't say bad things. It was pretty good. And yeah, so somehow DH has good customer service on the Discord, while we always had the experience in main game that they just don't understand us. I don't know how that happened, but they have customer support now. Interesting. Nirvana 1 changes transition skill to when self has 12 layers of transition power, consumes 12 layers of them. So it's not like a thing where we get it every round. Attack 10 times again, dealing 1000% of damage, so damage is doubled. 2 random enemy. We inflict silence gag order on 3 random enemies. Keep in mind, 100% is not guaranteed, because the enemy's control immunity works against that. We also do an active skill, so PvE might remove that. Yeah, there are a few things that might happen. Now, there's 3 enemies now instead of 1 enemy. And then we do 1200% of Divine Retribution. And this is actually a bit 20% more. And then we have an 80% chance to inflict Parasitic Rose on the enemy with the highest attack, which afterwards will also do 5000% of attack damage. So the thing and the reason why I think we should still go Nirvana is actually Lifestar, because you can't put a Lifestar on a hero if he's not Nirvana. And in my opinion, that takes away any discussion we are going to have about whether or not a Destiny a damage dealer is meant to be upgraded to Nirvana. It is not an option for your main damage dealer to stop at Destiny rank 5. Because you will upgrade him to Destiny rank 6 to put that Lifestar on there, because that Lifestar is 60 million attack. That is 60 million attack on this copy. So, not an option to not do it, in my opinion. One thing to note. I saw many people, and with many people, I mean people that are new to this game, seeing videos from me, seeing videos from Barry. I don't know if MK did one, probably. And they said they wanted to build this hero. I have to say to you, don't do it. Don't build this hero early on. This hero, at the time that we are talking about it, which is of course right now, is horrible to build early on. Not because he is a bad hero, not because he can't solo carry. He can, in fact. He's pretty good on its own and often relives multiple rounds due to his shield and self-shield sustain without any heroes on your team. The thing is, if you want to go into him, you have to build his tenants. And at this moment, the only tenants he has are IHP and ATD. Both of which are in their own kind main damage dealer type heroes. None of which can be sustained by an early game account. Each of those usually goes into their own home. ATD goes in no home anymore because, well, he is just a tenant, so you build him with the sole purpose of being a tenant because he won't do anything else for you without a lot of investment in him, which you can't afford at the start. IHP is also main damage carrier type hero, mainly for PvP. You won't build her on an early game account because she won't do anything for you. If we compare that, however, to other heroes that are commonly used at the start, let's take a look, for example, at something like LFA. We can build SQH, great support hero, will help him, will help anything that you build on this account. Or we use PDE, great support hero as well, will also help your account. So they have heroes that help you in other ways more than just existing on your account. So those heroes are useful and will buff your main damage dealer, which will in turn make this stronger. And I don't think that Williams is strong enough on his own to justify building him early on. If you go for a little bit of a weighty start and you go for your SSM, you can still do something like BQA and HHA. You have support choices in there, which makes the hero inherently a better choice. With Williams, this is right now not the case. We can, however, wait and see if something happens. Usually heroes later on get Transcendence heroes added to them as tenants. It can take a while, however. We see there is still no new slot 3 tenant for CSG, which is out for half a year, something like this. And afterwards, it doesn't look much better. There is one here, okay. But then we get to IHP and, well, yeah, you see it yourself. And then they randomly get heroes added to them. So in slot 2, we have no second hero on many on the older heroes. So we might look at something like half a year till we even get a hero in Tenant spot 2. And if we see a hero in Tenant spot 4, that's a whole nother discussion. Yeah, so that is something to be kept in mind. I don't recommend using him early on. Build him later on. If you have an endgame account, if you're using DTV, if you are thinking about going into Void campaign and you maybe you just want to have a fresh take on it and have enough of the times of DTV. Well, you can go for Williams. Is Williams more powerful than DTV? I would say no. DTV has his own power. DTV is a hero that can do things for you that can be very, very helpful. And starting off, the main thing that he really does is ignore a ton of defenses. He can build up a ton of damage and then strike the enemy. He is also less complicated in a way than Williams. I think Williams is gameplay-wise interesting, but as a hero you really want to read and understand a little bit. Especially what happens if I put an energy artifact on this guy? What happens if I put like a non-energy artifact there? What is better? And that can depend on the enemy team. DTV is plug and play. Throw him in there. It's going to work somehow. And the defense ignoring in a way is OP. Williams will do pretty much the same for you, I reckon. He is more expensive to set up. You need a setup IHP on your account. You need a setup DTV on ATD, my god, okay, on your account to get proper tech on him, and even with that, you will probably struggle a little bit. We have a particularly good house here. We have an SSS IHP that gives us 24 million attack. ATD, however, only 13 million, so better copy would have been nice. 38 million from the house, and we're still not looking at such a nice attack stat here, even though we have this max lifestyle. So getting attack on him is also a bit difficult. If he gets better tenants, I am sure it will be a bit easier. The way those tenants are not bad tenants in the way that they give bad stats. It's just bad tenants because you really don't want to have them in the house. If you use him in a PvP team with IHP, IHP is a meta PvP hero. You don't want to use her as tenant for him and then put her in your PvP team. You want to have her in her own home, get a ton of attack on her, and then maybe put Williams in there. And that kind of makes it so Williams at the moment will probably be used more as a support in PvP, with the main goal of just inflicting parasitic roses, with the main goal of inflicting silence gag order on enemies that reach 100 energy, and probably, I mean, he can still deal damage nonetheless, probably on most accounts, but I don't know. It's a bit difficult to put him in PvP, I feel like, but we will make another video on that. This is mostly a PvE review. Yeah, so I think that's like all I can say for the moment. The question is, will I clear Void campaign now entirely with him? I'm not sure about that. I think it is certainly interesting. We should have definitely used TBB for this stage. I'm already regretting it. I just wanted to start another stage as the end point of this video, because we're at 14 minutes and I doubt anybody is even going to see this end. Maybe if you see this end, maybe we can make like a code word. Maybe include Cthulhu in your comment. If you make a comment and just write Cthulhu in there, so that I see who watched it till the end. That would be very, very cool. But you can see, like you get an idea for why I say he can survive, right? Everybody's gone, he's still there, and you can see his shield fills up. And that is like, it kind of ended up being a better example than I could hope for. Like, it is not the heal, you can't see the heal, but it's shield recuperation. That is so insane, it makes him so tanky. Matt, yeah, okay, cool. Turned out to be a great ending. Cthulhu, if you saw the video till here, I wonder how many are going to write it. Well, still, I hope you enjoyed this. If there are any more questions you have about Williams, if there is something where you say, Wraec, I'm mad you didn't show that, I will happily oblige and show you that and make another video. There is one thing that I'm already planning. I didn't want to wait for it. It will be tomorrow. I'm not sure how I'm going to make a video about this, but I want to show you the level 19 Ethereal Realm boss, like the boss that is in there. And I want to see a fight of Rosart Fanatic against this boss. And I think this could be fairly interesting. So we are going to take a look at that as well. But this is just a thing that I didn't want to put into this video. So I hope you have a better idea of this hero now. I hope you're already subscribed to this channel. If you aren't, you're part of 70% at the moment that are not. Maybe leave a subscription. And other than that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.